Hello, lovely humans, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about how to plan the perfect wedding. Yeah, I'm serious. We're doing a brand new series that tells you exactly what details you should be looking at, what you should be researching, and what you should be booking when. I know a lot of that sounds overwhelming, but guess what? It's not. At least I don't think it is, and I know by the end of this, you will agree with. So before we jump any further into this, you do need to download the wedding planning timeline. I've linked it right here for you and down in the description box. It will take a maximum of 5 minutes to get to your inbox, so if you want to pause and come back to this once you have that, totally understood. If by any chance you don't find it in your inbox, check your spam folder, it'll be there. But this planning timeline is exactly what I will be referring to throughout the entirety of this series, if you will. So you're gonna need it. So without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. Now, before we go any further, there's absolutely no way for me to predict what's happening with the global panini, so this is just going to be as standard as possible, and of course, adjust as you see fit for your area. Okay, that's all. Okay. Most wedding planning timelines start at about 12 months out, and mine is absolutely no different at all, because that is the most common engagement period time frame. However, that does not mean if you don't fall perfectly within these allotted time frames that this timeline doesn't apply to you. It's just the best reference that we have, and really what matters here is the pacing. Now this, of course, is the freebie that we've stolen from the master plan, so if you think this little nugget is good, just wait until you see the rest of it, because it gets even better. Because this literally isn't even a tenth of what's offered in the master plan, all for 29 bucks a month. Check it out down below, or right here. But the columns that we have are time frame left, details to be considering or looking at or planning, details, I'll shorten it, hopefully soon enough, what you should be researching and what you should be booking. The details are wedding planning details that you should be looking at. The research is obviously the vendors and or large key items that you should be researching. The booking column is what you should be booking during that time frame. And what I like best about this setup or this timeline in general is the pacing of things, because regardless of how much time you have left, you do need to make sure that things are well paced. One, I want you booking stuff on time, and two, I don't want you feeling like a crazy hot mess that feels like you're constantly behind. Now, of course, like, these are not hard and fast rules, but the pacing to this is kind of important, and there's a reason why you do one thing before the next. But feel free to switch things around as you see fit. Okay, first row, 12 months out. Again, doesn't have to be 12 months out, but I'm not gonna keep repeating that. We're just gonna, for the sake of me not over-explaining everything, we're sticking with 12 months out. 12 months out. We're gonna go over the details first. And I'm gonna be constantly referring to my timeline because I don't have it memorized. Shocker, I know. The order of the details are like not super important. It's just important to get them done first or within this time frame. First thing on our list is to prioritize. It's very, very, very important that you decide what's important to you and your spouse to be. Like, that's paramount. You should not be planning until you know what's important to you. And it's honestly usually pretty easy to figure out. I've had couples be like, music, we really want to have a lit dance floor, or we're major foodies, we really want to make sure we have high quality food, or we want to maintain our budget. This is where that goes. What are your priorities? Next, create a separate email. I promise you, you will want to kiss me right here, when you realize how wonderful having a separate email is. It's the best way of directing all of that wedding planning information to that email, and then when you're done, you're done. Not only is it a great place to centralize so you and your fiance can look at it together, it's not your personal inbox or their personal inbox, it's something that you both have the ability to access, and you both have the ability to ditch when you're done with your event, because you definitely don't want to be haunted by wedding spam emails for the rest of your days. Third up, you're going to want to set a budget. I know. No one likes the B word, but we have to figure it out, okay? You need to know how much money you have to spend before you start spending money. That's obviously the entire premise of this channel, because wedding days are cool, but so is buying groceries, you know, the week after you get married. So make sure you set a budget. If you need to figure out how to do that, y'all know I've got plenty of videos on it here, or you can obviously do that in the master plan as well. The wording of this next part is gonna sound a little bit funky because it really is specific to the master plan. We'd walk you through how to design your event, which can be difficult for some people. So obviously pacing out the design of everything can be really helpful for those that this is like not their skill set and not what they wanna do. So during this time frame, you're gonna wanna figure out style round one. Basically what this means is, what's your theme? What's your vibe? What are your colors? You're gonna wanna start pinning some things on Pinterest. Obviously I go into way more detail in the master plan. You'll find that there. But you need to kind of start getting a vibe for what you want to have happen, because you're gonna be asked about it a ton. And I mean a ton. Like all the time, every vendor, family, friends, strangers on the street. What are your wedding colors? What's your wedding theme? You're gonna wanna have something to shut them up. Respectfully. This is also the time frame that you want to do your first round of your guest list. Think of it as a rough draft of sorts where you just dump everyone you've ever known onto a sheet of paper. They don't know they're on that sheet. Nope, this is just for you and your fiance to just like word vomit and get all the people out, and also to kind of keep looking at it and every month or so like add a person that you completely forgot. Not that I ever did that. I didn't forget super influential people in my life on my guest list. No. I added them in a couple months later. This is why it's important to do this brain dump, because then you have that very important number that every single vendor is going to be asking you for. What's your guest count? What's your guest count? What's your guest count? What's your guest count? And you need to have a general idea of what you want to stick with. All right. During this time frame, you should also be researching a wedding planner or coordinator. You can book a coordinator a little bit later, like 6 months in advance. You don't have to book one 12 months in advance. That's an option. Or right now would be the time to look for a wedding planner alternative. Obviously, I love what we have going on, the absolute best, because it's the best price and the most comprehensive without being too overwhelming, and the most affordable. There. I said it. That's not throwing shade. We're just excited about what we offer. Venues, catering if it's not included in your venue, and photography and videography. You can research as many vendors during this time frame as you want to. Of course, my only concern is to make sure that you don't get burnt out. So it's important to not research too many vendors at once, because otherwise, full brain explosion. Now that we've covered that, let's move on down to the next bracket that is 10 months out. Note that time frame here. That first row, that first set of instructions, that should take you 2 months. 2 months to accomplish. You feeling better? 8 whole weeks to get some of this stuff done. And notice, we haven't necessarily jumped into booking anything yet. Right now, we're giving you permission to just really pace yourself appropriately, because I think research is one of the most important ways that you can save money and be effective about what you're picking out. We're gonna go ahead and cover the column of details first. 1, choose your wedding party. You definitely don't wanna do it too early, so if you have a longer engagement than this, give yourself some time, because a lot of feedback that I've received from a lot of you guys or people we've worked with is sometimes asking someone too early, and then there's some sort of emotional situation or fallout along the way. Just make sure that you're not asking like 2 years in advance. Like, give yourself some time, get a little closer to your event, and make sure that that relationship will be long lasting. We don't need to unpack that. I'm just saying those details. Why do I keep doing this? This is when you want to go through the second round of your guest list. It makes more sense if you're in the master plan, but basically we're whittling. We're whittling and we're adding people we forgot. And we're doing another round of styling through the master plan here, honing in, getting more specific, but obviously that's detailed there. This is also a fantastic time to start dress shopping. Due to the fact that alterations take some time, or, shipping will take some time, especially if you're buying a brand new dress and it needs to come to you. It can take anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks. And that's, of course, without any sort of panorama shipping delays. People in the comments are gonna be like, what's a panorama shipping delay? And the fifth detail, that's it. Number 5 is menu tasting. This one's scootable. Like, you can scoot it up and down the timeline, because if you get a caterer with your venue, they will tell you when you need to be doing this, right? Like, you don't need to worry about figuring out your menu tasting. But if you are booking a caterer on your own, you're gonna wanna test the food beforehand. So it is a good idea to make sure that you are taste testing before you book them. This would be a great time frame for that. Scooting on over to research, we want to research florist, DJ, guest accommodations if you're providing them, and wedding websites. Now, as a goal of mine to create a wedding website video to kind of compare and contrast them, but honestly, it sounds like a lot of work, so I haven't quite done it yet. Because through the master plan, we're now really like honing in your style, or if you're doing this independently, you have a better idea of what you want it to look like than you did in the very beginning. Now would be a great time to start the conversation with the florist and say, hey, here's my vibe, here's what I'm thinking, here's the mood, tell me floral things. Obviously, DJs are pretty self-explanatory. Just make sure you take the time to find a good one. Their voice has a huge impact on what your guests experience. The way they play music has a huge impact on what your guests experience and what you experience. So make sure that you find a DJ that you absolutely love their personality and that you know is going to rock it and crush it on your dance floor. Guest accommodations like hotel blocks, pretty self-explanatory, and wedding websites, also self-explanatory. Now, the reason we want to research these here is about 6 months is when you typically would send out save the dates if you are sending them. So you need your wedding website ready, and you need to have any sort of accommodations that you may be offering and or suggest, because I personally don't like hotel blocks. I prefer just suggest places and let people figure it out. So obviously looking into that 10 months in advance gives you plenty of time to have everything booked and ready for when all that happens. And then the last column here, you see we're finally booking something. Obviously, for some people, they're like, that's crazy, I'm gonna book it in month 12. I don't care. You do you. Again, shiftable. Totally up to you. As well as photography, videography. You may take a little bit less time, a little bit more time. Again, I don't care. If you're not hiring a planner, make sure you have a plan in place for how you're going to stay organized. It could be videos like this, it could be the master plan, it could be hiring a coordinator. And also notice that what we were researching in the last time frame is what we're booking in this time frame. 8 whole weeks, y'all. 8 whole weeks. 2 months. Does that feel better? Just to know that you don't have to keep go. That is what the pacing of this entire timeline is going to be. Y'all, I don't want you stressed out planning this. Planning a wedding is not difficult. I promise planning a wedding is not difficult. Pacing, the budgeting, the mechanics, weddings aren't hard. Just the emotions, the finances, and the expectations that oftentimes will get in the way and exacerbate things and make them feel harder than they need to be. Again, if you want everything boiled down in chronological order and made easy for you to understand and accomplish, check out the master plan. It's going to be single-handedly one of the best choices you make for wedding planning. And that's a bold statement, but I stand by it wholeheartedly. And stay tuned for the next video in this series in a couple weeks. Jump on down there, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you stick around. If you're new here, thanks for watching. My name is Jamie Wolfer, and I'm a wedding planner that helps everyday modern couples plan their wedding ballin' on a budget. If you haven't done so already, like this video if you like the video and you're ready for the next part of the series, and subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride. I already said subscribe. And until next week, bye guys.